everybody, and welcome to the Raider Ramble Show. I am your host, Raider, and boy, oh boy, do we have a big show today. Today I'm having on Raider Booch. I hope I'm saying that right.
You definitely are, brother.
Okay, and a.k.a. the host of Raidersfinest podcast. If you guys haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raider Booch. I am the host of Raidersfinest podcast. I wanted to come on the show with Raider to introduce myself and talk about the draft, and we'll get this started.
Yeah, so let's just dive right into it. So, the draft, what did you think of it off the top of your head?
I thought it was really successful for the Raiders. I definitely see a lot of talent building up for this team. There are a lot of great picks that we have that can develop us into a team for contention, and, I think overall, these picks are going to change us for the better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. First of all, from first base, I was a little iffy on some of the picks, maybe other than Henry Ruggs, but the more you sit down and think about it, Henry Ruggs, you can't go wrong with either one of the big three. There's one note I wrote here for Henry Ruggs, and that was just basically speed. His speed is flatline. You don't get anything bigger than that. Damian Arnett, he played his whole junior season with a broken wrist, which was a little iffy, but he did great. He's got good press skills. He's got a good awareness for the ball. The way he tracks the ball is really good. It's kind of interesting to see. He's also a good man-to-man corner, has good press coverage. And I'm going to give the Henry Ruggs pick an A+, and I'm going to give the Arnett pick a B. And then in the third round, we pick Lynn Bowden Jr., and I like that pick because it kind of gives you a Taysom Hill vibe, which is kind of like let you open up your offense. And there's actually an interesting note I wrote here in my notebook, and that was he kind of gives you the Mariota factor. And the reason why I say that is because the Raiders signed Mariota, they have Carr, and they have Lynn Bowden Jr., and they also have Henry Ruggs. So, the Raiders can make a triple option. I know those aren't really running the NFL nowadays, but they can make a triple option type formation where they could have Carr run one way, have Mariota run the other, or have, Lynn Bowden Jr. throw some passes. The interesting thing about Lynn Bowden Jr. is that it's kind of like Dre Archer. I don't know if you remember Dre Archer from the Steelers back in 2010. He kind of exploits the field, and he does everything possible. He can run running, but you can be a running back, quarterback, a receiver. Mayock did say in a post-draft interview that we are mainly going to use him as a running back. Now, I like that move. The only thing that I don't like about it is he doesn't seem like a true running back. However, I know the Raiders could try to get one in free agency still. Devontae Freeman. They tried going after Frank Gore. That didn't work out. But, they can get some other name. Or they can trade for one. As running backs are getting traded nowadays. Bryan Edwards, I love that pick. It's a big, rangy receiver. He's physical off the top of the line, and it's a great pick. He would have had first-round talent had he not suffered that injury this year. John Simpson gives Gabe Jackson a run for his money out of Clemson. He's an offensive guard. I see him being a successor to either Richie Incognito or Gabe Jackson. And then Amik Robinson, who I was really iffy on. Don't forget about Tanner Muse. I'm going to get to Tanner Muse in a second. But Amik Robinson, who I was really iffy on, was I didn't like that pick because it just didn't seem right. But the more I watched him, he's got that dog mentality. And, Mayock owns the fourth round, and I think he knows what he's doing there. Tanner Muse, great pick. Demarius Randall and Jeff Heath aren't going to last forever, so I definitely see that working there, although I know they're going to start him at linebacker. But him and Abram would be a good tandem. In all, I do give the Raiders draft class a B. What do you think about the Raiders draft class?
I definitely agree. I gave it a B-, only because of, the John Simpson pick is great. We didn't really need a lot of big talent out of the, offensive tackle position, but he's there to help Gabe and Rodney. So I agree with you in some way. When I saw the Amik Robinson pick, I definitely, was iffy as well.
Scratch your head.
I've watched his tape, and right after that, I immediately knew this kid could be special. And, as I've said before, I think that he can be like a Max Crosby of this draft. So we'll see where that goes. Definitely in camp.
So, most surprising pick that the Raiders chose?
I definitely have to say, I'm going to say Damian Arnett, simply because, it's 19. Not a lot of people saw him as a first-round draft pick.
Right.
But because of his ability and him working next to Jeff Okudah, I definitely think that he's worth it at 19. And that's just, the way I see it, especially after watching his tape.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of doubters, just as you said, because he was second fiddle to Okudah. However, I do think it was a bit of a reach, but more than I watch, I think it was a good pick. He does come out of the cornerback U. A lot of good cornerbacks come out from Ohio State, or the Ohio State, because, some fans of Ohio State are like that. But, I kind of wanted Jeff Gladney out of TCU. I thought he'd be a better fit. And A.J. Terrell out of Clemson, I did not think he would go 16 to Atlanta. That one really surprised me. And I was, a little iffy on that one, but I think Arnett's going to work out. Hopefully he's nothing like Garrett Conley. But like I said, I think it's going to work out. I think Mayock and Gruden, no talent. So, yeah.
I definitely agree with you. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Least valuable pick of this draft class.
Least valuable pick. Wow, that's a tough one. I think I'll go with John Simpson on that as well. I was going to say Tanner Muse, but his ability, he worked next to Isaiah Simmons, and Isaiah Simmons is a dog, and he's going to be a beast for the Cardinals. So seeing Tanner Muse and watching his tape, he was, all over the field. He was similar to an Isaiah Simmons on the other side of the ball. You know what I mean? Or the other side of the field, excuse me. But, I definitely think that John Simpson was the least valuable. He's good. He has a lot of ability, but he is a work in progress. And, overall, he's going to be a couple years out before he's a starter.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I would have said Lynn Bowden had we not figured out how Mayock and Gruden envision using him. But, John Simpson can start anywhere from today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. It just depends who's out of the door first, whether it's Richie or whether it's Gabe. But, he's definitely work in progress. He needs to gain some pounds. But, I think Tom Cable can help him with that kind of stuff. And I think that he's going to be a good pick. I do think one day, however, he's going to start. But I don't see him coming into the starting lineup for at least a good year and a half. I think we're going to have to bring him along slowly.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Now, for the Raiders division, the division got a lot tougher. There was rumors saying that the Chiefs brought out that rumor saying they wanted to trade up for Henry Ruggs just to scare the Raiders. And by the way, Al Davis would 100% picked Henry Ruggs. He was smiling down from the heavens. But, I don't believe that for a second. I think it wasn't until late that Ruggs was Gruden's guy, because you kept hearing Lamb, Judy. And then all of a sudden, like 3 days before the draft, you heard Ruggs. Wait, Gruden likes Ruggs. Gruden, envisions Ruggs a big part of the offense. And honestly, when we picked Ruggs, I wasn't really surprised. So I 100% agree with the fact that I don't agree with the fact that the whole trading up for Ruggs was a smokescreen to scare the Raiders off. Gruden and Mayock had that in the back of their heads the whole time. I don't see that at all. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I heard those rumors too, and I have friends that are Chiefs fans, and they kind of rode me a little. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna take Ruggs or Lamb or Judy." I'm like, I don't think so. You guys don't have the value right now, and everybody wants to see you fall more than they want to help you at this point. So I just felt that it was just a big scare, and Mike Mayock and John Gruden definitely had their eye on Ruggs and knew Ruggs would be there for them when that happened.
Right. And a lot of people were saying, the Jets are going to pick Lamb, or, the Browns are going to pick Ruggs. A lot of the mock drafts that I did had Henry Ruggs going 10th to the Browns, which I was really surprised. And by the way, real quick PSA, Mel Kiper doesn't know what he's doing. Mel Kiper had Jordan Love going to the Raiders. What?
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me either. I don't know what he was talking about.
I think he had the
person needs to slow down.
Yeah, I think he had the personal vendetta. Ever since John Gruden left ESPN, it's been about clicks, honestly, and I think they just go off mock drafts.
Definitely. Yeah, the mock drafts are huge at this point, especially in this day and age. Mock drafts mean everything to anyone who watches the draft, period. So, everyone thought, oh, Ruggs is definitely going to go way earlier than, what he really did, and
right.
There was no reason.
Right. So anyways, in terms of the division, Chargers got Herbert, so now we're going to have to face him, Locke, and Mahomes twice a year, which I'm not very excited about. Chiefs got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the Broncos loaded up for Drew Lock. Drew Lock's going to be good. They did a ton. Now, in your opinion, what was the biggest shocker overall of the first round?
The biggest shocker overall in the first round?
This could be any team.
I would definitely, I didn't think Tua really would fall, but he did surprise me going to the Dolphins. My friends and I had talked, about maybe Burrow will fall. Nah, I didn't think that was going to happen. But I said maybe Tua will fall, but that didn't happen either. I think Justin Herbert was a big surprise going to the Chargers. I thought they would go for a Jordan Love type quarterback. I thought they would want someone who could stand in the pocket instead of having someone who can not only get out of the pocket, but is great down the field and has a cannon of an arm.
Right. And there was actually a smoke screen saying that the Dolphins wanted Tua and that their owner was in love with Tua and that, they would go with Jordan Love as a second option. So, but that didn't work out. That didn't end up happening. I don't know why I had this in the back of my head, but I was, sitting there after the Bengals picked Burrow, which we all knew was going to happen. I had a feeling that, just knowing Ron Rivera, that he was going to screw everybody up in their brains and just end up taking Tua. But that obviously didn't happen. I think, for me, the biggest surprise, and I know, everybody would expect me to say Jordan Love, but I'm going to say CeeDee Lamb to Dallas. The Cowboys outright did not have a need for a receiver. However, they went with the receiver because he was the best player available. I had expected the Eagles to jump the Cowboys before we got to 19 to make sure they secured Lamb, but they obviously went Jalen Reagor out of TCU. The Cowboys are loaded now, and that's going to help them a lot. I definitely think that tears apart Michael Gallup's production, but I was really surprised that the Cowboys went CeeDee, even though I had started telling all my friends, hey, CeeDee's going to Dallas. But if you want an even bigger shocker, maybe AJ Terrell to Atlanta at 16 was a bit of a reach. And then other than that, the biggest shocker, if anybody's going to say it, is Jordan Love going to the Packers.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan Love was a tough one. Especially, I didn't expect him to fall that far. And neither did I expect him to go to the Packers, period. Because of Aaron Rodgers, simply. But I definitely agree Jordan Love was a big shock. And he's definitely going to take over for Aaron next few years. And Aaron's not going to expect it.
No, he's not. I think ever since last year, some bridges have been burnt between the Packers and Rodgers. And that being said, too, I wasn't the biggest fan of Jordan Love. Early on I was, but more that I watched him, he's kind of like Carr. He has those traits. Doesn't have the biggest arm, even though he's getting compared to Mahomes. And his tendencies and consistency and, ball placement is not that all great. He's going to need some seasoning, but I definitely think that Jordan Love will work out. So, yeah.
I definitely agree with you.
So, next topic is, we had a good draft. The virtual draft went well. What did you think about the virtual setting of the draft?
I thought it was really cool, to be honest. I didn't expect some of the things that I saw, especially with Cliff Kingsbury's house and seeing the house of the Vikings head coach and all that stuff. It was really cool to see inside the lives of the coaches and the players and stuff like that. It was more personal to the fans than anything else. And other than obviously the commissioner botching, saying that we're going to have the 22 draft in Vegas again. But other than that, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Thank you for hearing the 2020. I was like, am I the only one that heard that? I'm like, wait, we are hosting the 2020 NFL Draft. I thought I was the only one that heard that. Yeah, he did say that. He was tired. But yeah, I definitely agree with the family sitting. I think that should be the way every year. I just feel like it gives it more of a life. You know, it's not all football, 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 grind, 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 you know, trade, trade, trade. It kind of has some personality to it. Kind of like a sitcom setting, you know? And I thought that was interesting. I definitely enjoyed that, and I think the commissioner wants to keep that around. But, you know, there was no hiccups through Zoom or whatever they use. And, by the way, Cliff Kingsbury, he was loaded. He was living in 2030. We were all living in 2020. His pad and his, you know, setup, oh, man.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I didn't expect to see a setting like that. The mountain behind his house and the pool and all that.
Yeah.
I'm envious, definitely.
That's definitely a note for some NFL fans or NFL teams to take with everything going on right now. So the commissioner also lowered his pay to 0 because of everything that's going on right now. Everybody stay inside your homes. Do it safe. Wash your hands frequently so we can get through this as a nation. I mean, because it's starting to get stuck up on some people. So
no doubt. I mean, I'm already going back to work, and as much as I look forward to working, I don't want to get sick like everybody else is already getting sick.
Right, yeah. And some people don't follow the social distancing guidelines. It's a mess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, with that being said, next topic is the schedule release. The NFL is releasing the schedule on, actually tomorrow, Thursday, about this time. You excited for that?
I definitely am excited for that. I think that, you know, as from what I heard, is that they're going to allow for the teams to release the schedule a half hour before the NFL does it on their show, which is on ESPN and NFL Network and all of that. So it's going to be cool for all of us as fans to see the schedule come out first for our team and then be able to evaluate it and go over the show with the experts as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I had both of us make some notes on our predictions of the schedule. So give me a second. Let me pull these up here. Hey everybody, I got my notes, and sorry for the technical difficulties there. But did you? Obviously, I know you made some schedule predictions. Do you want to read yours off first?
No doubt, I definitely will. So, looking at some of the opponents that we are going to go up against this upcoming year, I saw a few games that I feel will shape us as a team, especially the first few weeks. And, you know, I've seen some rumors on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that about us possibly playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Week 1 at home in Vegas. I think that's going to be a huge game for us. I think if we can play Tampa Bay and, you know, at a high level and put them, you know, behind us, especially with Tom Brady at the helm, it's going to make us look so much better. I mean, I know it's only going to be Week 1, but that's a big statement. And then supposedly Week 2, we're supposed to play at home again against the Saints. Now, we played the Saints in New Orleans a couple years ago in 2016 when Carr was on his great season.
That game was nice.
Thinking about that, it was a crazy game. It was one of the best games I've ever watched. Now, if that can happen again and in Las Vegas, and that's really going to put us on the map. Those are two of my key ones. Another one that I see at home that really speaks volumes to me is, you know, the Colts game. You know, they're bringing in Phillip Rivers. They solidified a lot of their defense and their offense in the draft, so I think that that's a game that we have to come in with a heavy mentality and play physical, and, you know, I think that's going to be a big game for us, you know, down the stretch, definitely.
Yeah, the Phillip Rivers one is interesting because Phillip Rivers knows us very well. He really does. So now let me get into my schedule predictions. Week 1, I'm going to say we played Tampa at home. It's a win-win for the NFL. It really is. The Raiders are opening up the new stadium. Now, by God's grace, may it be ready by the time September rolls around due to everything that's going on right now. But, you know, let's hope it is. They don't have any contingency plans that I've heard of yet. Maybe I've heard one rumor saying Salt Lake City or San Diego, but I'm not entirely sure on how true that is. But I think that we're going to play Week 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, opening up the stadium on Monday Night Football. And the reason why I say that is there is a ton of reasons why that could be a thing. That could be a thing. And that is because, one, the Raiders are going to open up Vegas, and, that's a flashy stadium in itself. They want to put that on national television. They want to, show everybody, look at this new diamond the Raiders built. Wow, And then you gotta think about the Buccaneers. They have new uniforms. Those uniforms look good, and they're a flashy team now with Brady and Gronk and Godwin and Evans and Devin White, and that defense is only getting better. The secondary and everything. You combine that flashy, Tom Brady enema that the Buccaneers have with the bright lights of Las Vegas and the new jewel that the Raiders are opening up. It's a win-win for the NFL in ratings, in sales, and in vision.
I agree, definitely, especially with they're bringing in Gronk too. That's gonna be a tough game, definitely. Gronk always has our number, and I really don't want to see that again.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, yeah, actually, when we played them in Mexico City, he tore us apart.
He did. He had, I think, 2 or 3 touchdowns.
It's crazy. I think that game was like 48-8 or something like. Yeah, it was really bad.
It was low for us, definitely.
That had to be the worst behind the 2014 Rams game, back when they were in St. Louis, 52-0.
Yeah, that was bad.
I cried during that game. I just
I think I did too, honestly.
Yeah, that was awful. Week 2, I'm going to say that we played the Chargers away. Week 3, Cleveland away. Week 4, Miami at home. Week 6, Week 6, Atlanta. Week 7, we get to touch KC. And here it was where I kind of threw an interesting curveball in there. Usually we don't go into KC because, Carr is terrible in KC. He hasn't actually won a game there, in Arrowhead. Now I'm experimenting here. I don't think it's gonna end up this way, but I'm gonna say Raiders play Chiefs Week 7 away in KC, and they get that one done early in late October, early November before winter hits down there, right? So, Week 8, the Jets. Week 9, New Orleans. Week 10, I had the Raiders having a bye. Week 11, Buffalo at home. Week 12, Indianapolis. Week 13, we have the Chargers at home. Week 14, this one's going to be interesting. New England, Stidham and, all of that going on against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football in Gillette Stadium. Week 14, this is the first lick the Raiders get at Denver, which is really surprising. But, the funny thing is that actually really does happen, whereas the Raiders don't touch the Broncos until later in the season. Week 14, Denver away. Week 15, I have the Raiders getting the final Thursday Night Football game of the year against KC at home. And then in Week 16, in Week 17, Raiders get Denver at home, and they close out the season.
That sounds like a good prediction, definitely. I agree with the Denver at the end of the season. I mean, we always play them late.
Yeah.
And it's always so tough because they come in physical, because whenever they play poorly in the beginning of the season, they get to the end last like 4 weeks, and they end up playing us like we were the team that beat them so heavily. And I hate it, but I think that'll give us a little bit more momentum, especially since now that we're going into a different playoff setup, that'll push us forward.
Yeah, we now have 7th seeds, so that should be interesting to see how that factors in. And we're about to have 18 games, 17 games pretty soon here with the new collective bargaining agreement. So we'll see how that goes. Now, quick little backstory on the schedule. Some kid on Instagram came charging at me the other day saying that the Raiders were playing the Buccaneers on the Thursday night opener. I told him, the Super Bowl winner is always the one to play, so it's going to be Chiefs. They are going to play that game. He kept trying to tell me, they're going to play who they want to play. Turns out, they rumored that the Chiefs will be playing the Panthers Week 1 Thursday Night Football kickoff opener, whatever you want to name it as or call it as. So, shout out to that kid. Not going to mention his name, but you lost that one.
Yeah, I saw that rumor, and I was like, really? I don't think the Raiders would play on Thursday night. There's no way. I don't care if we're going to win New City or not, the Super Bowl winner always plays the first game of the season. That's just without a doubt.
Yeah, the only exception being last year because of the 100th season. So, yeah. Now, another thing is a lot of Raider fans have been telling me, Raider, the schedule's a lot easier this year. No, it's not. When you break it down into dynamics, you got to think of it this way, okay? We have to play KC.
It's definitely not easier.
Yeah. We definitely have to play KC twice a year, which we can't get past Mahomes. I mean, I don't know. I don't care if you want to call me, idiot or bandwagon. I don't know when we're going to beat Mahomes, but whenever that day comes, it's going to be great. Okay? On top of that, we have to play Denver, who's only getting better. Okay? And then you factor in that we got to play the NFC South. The Buccaneers aren't going to be an easy team to beat now. And they never were even last year with what they had before. I mean, the Buccaneers are improving yearly. They're kind of improving like us. But with that being said, we after that point, at some point in the season, we have to play New Orleans, and New Orleans is a unit. Trayvon Mullen is going to have trouble covering the likes of Michael Thomas and, Jared Cook. We're going to get our revenge on him. Drew Brees is who he is, so that's going to be hard. Then you have to consider the fact that we're playing the Patriots. And yeah, the Patriots might be rebuilding, but I mean, it's Belichick. And Belichick's always got something up his sleeve. Ugh. So I definitely don't think the schedule is easier, and I think it's harder. And, I think we'll go 9-7 this year. We'll fight for the 7th seed. But as much as I want to say that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders don't make it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. There's a possibility that if we come out physical and play as heavily as we want to with our new talent, we could really go 9-7 or 10-6. But looking at the schedule and the difficulty of some of the teams, especially with the Dolphins, surging, and the Bills have been good the past few years, especially with Tampa Bay as well. There's no way that we could be realistic with it being an easy schedule. Period. As of right now, they're saying we're, I think, the 8th hardest.
Yeah.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. 6th hardest. And the Chiefs have the 8th easiest or something like
That's
that.
That's what I've heard too.
It's ridiculous.
As I always say, when all these fans come crying, as I always say, they hate us because they ain't us.
That is very true. Very true.
Yep. Can't get any truer than that. Now, let's go on to jersey numbers, because there was a few interesting ones out there. Henry Ruggs, Janikowski approved, is going to get number 11. When they announced that Henry Ruggs was going to wear number 11, a funny thought came into my head. I have a Janikowski jersey in the back here behind my closet. I'm like, I essentially already have a Henry Ruggs jersey. But, all I have to do is take off Janikowski's nameplate and I'll have a Henry Ruggs jersey. But then it's like, we respect Seabass way too much, so I won't be doing that. There's a lot of kids on Instagram who are promoting $38 Henry Ruggs jerseys, and I don't know about those. I'm not too sure that those are even real, but that's going around.
Yeah, the Ruggs jersey is really cool. I think that him taking 11 is, a big testament to Janny's legendary status. And that's cool that you have a jersey of Janny and you can take that nameplate off, but you're right, it's way too expensive to do that. There's no reason. I've seen the $38 jerseys. They're not worth it. You need to get something that's more official.
Yeah, I have some friends who really think that I'm actually going to buy one. It's like, it's probably fake, it's not, I don't know, it's not real. Simply put.
Yeah.
Damian Arnett chose number 20. Apparently he wanted 21, but Nick Nelson took that number. He once again changed his number. And by the way, why is Nick Nelson still on the roster? What has he done?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't get why. They haven't seen his blown coverages and all of his misdirections. He needs work, and we're not the team that needs to work on it, especially when we're bringing in talent that could smoke him in camp.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. I know that Lynn Bowden chose number 33. Brian Edwards chose number 89. Okay. And let me think here. Tanner Muse picked number 55. Now, I want to say something about that. I have Twitter too, so you guys go follow that. Raider 4 all caps. But there was some kids, telling me on Twitter, or there was somebody on Twitter that was saying, "Oh wait, so Burfict isn't coming back?" No, Burfict was never coming back. In fact, I don't know if somebody out there remembers who's listening. The Raiders did inform Burfict that he wasn't coming back in February. So no, he was never coming back. He was never. And then there was some fans that were like, well, why, he should play in the box safety. He should take Joyner's spot. Why isn't he doing that? Well, the kid weighs 277 pounds. That's linebacker weight. So I definitely understand that. But to the 4 people that contacted me on Twitter, the 4 Vontaze Burfict stands, no, Vontaze Burfict is not coming back. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah, I don't even expect him to be reinstated in the league. There's no way that he can come back. Even if the Raiders wanted him back.
Yeah. Him and Josh Gordon are forever done. Him and AB. Put it at that.
Yeah, AB has a better chance at boxing against Logan Paul than anything at this point.
I don't even want to get into that Logan Paul. That's not going to happen. They always say that's going to happen September 10th. No, that's not happening.
Yeah, I didn't believe it either.
Who knows? Amik Robinson chose number 41. Now, I want to say something about Amik Robinson. Okay? Last year, as you guys know, the Raiders signed Marcus Joyner thinking, oh my goodness, he's going to be good in the slot cornerback position. Now, this could be 2 factors as to why he's not succeeding. One could be, he's small, he's listed at 5'11", and he's not good enough to be a slot corner because he was born as a safety. Okay, you can also consider the fact that he's had some really bad blown coverages, and he's always getting trampled in coverage, and it's just not good. He's having trouble finding his place on the field. I fully expect, I don't know if it'll be this season, but I fully expect Amik Robinson to run his position out of the water and to take his slot cornerback spot. I know Amik Robinson is only 5'8", but Amik Robinson has those traits to just take over. And I definitely think that Amik Robinson will be our slot cornerback one day or another. So, I definitely think the Raiders made a big hiccup in signing LaMarcus Joyner, but I don't know why they don't play him at safety. I'm still trying to figure that out. I think it has something to do with Paul Guenther's defense. And by the way, everybody thinks that Paul Guenther's going to stick around. Paul Guenther, especially after we hired Rod Marinelli, Paul Guenther's on borrowed time. He's on a ticking time clock. It's only a matter of time before him and Gruden get into this big disagreement and he's fired. And that happened, I will celebrate.
Yeah, I love his defensive style in some way, and he was great for the Bengals and his time, but our defense needs a boost. Some of the styles that he uses, especially for the safeties, it doesn't make sense to have someone like LaMarcus Joyner in that position. And for him to be a slot corner, it just that doesn't make sense either. Because his style of play just doesn't conform to that position. And that's why I agree. I think that Amik Robinson is definitely going to take over that position. Maybe not this year, but eventually. Marcus can be that, teacher for him to show him how to do it correctly.
Yeah, and I also want to make a note about Tower Williams and Brian Edwards here. This could be a little bit of a reach, or this could be a little bit of a biased opinion, but I honestly think, especially after the fact that the Raiders drafted Brian Edwards, I think that Tyrell Williams is on his last legs or is on borrowed time with the Raiders. When we signed Tyrell, he was originally supposed to be number 2, but then the whole, AB circus happened, whether that be frostbite, the helmet, hard knocks. Yeah, that happened. So, obviously, Tyrell Williams was put in an uncompromised position where, he didn't expect it to be. Later in the season, as we know, Tyrell Williams got something called plantar fasciitis. I honestly don't know how to say that, but I honestly think that Tyrell is on borrowed time. I do, because Tyrell Williams signed a 2-year contract. He's on the last year of the contract, and Brian Edwards has a way higher ceiling than him, especially for our offense. Big rangy receiver. He's healthy, he's young, and he's going to learn from some good receivers himself. So, I definitely think that, maybe I don't think they'll cut him. Maybe they'll trade him if they can, and I know they'll get a suitor. And, if Tyrell Williams stays healthy, then by all means keep him, But I definitely think that Tyrell Williams is on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've said on my show, especially, that Brian Edwards is the best suitor for taking over Tyrell's spot, if not taking over for one. And, the next few years, he has that ability. His strength and ability to go off the ball is just uncanny. Especially when you watch the tape against him and Amick Robertson. It's ridiculous. They just went at it together, and it was beautiful, to be honest with you.
It really was. It really was. People don't realize that he would have been a first-round prospect had he not got that injury. But he's got it. He's that dog, and that's why I think he's going to end up taking over for Tyrell at some point or another, even though some people don't want to believe me. Also, some guy tried telling me the other day that because the Raiders drafted 2 new receivers, that Hunter Renfrow is going to be receiver 4. What?
Don't tell me that. Do not tell me that. That's my favorite player. I don't believe that either. I think that he put up such a great season last year that he has taken that 3rd spot. There's no way that you're pushing him away. He may be switched out for a few plays, but he is the starter in slot.
Yeah. He's a slot receiver. He's a Wes Welker type, Julian Edelman type. There's no way that Hunter Renfrow is going to be receiver 4. If you're going to tell me that, get off this podcast, because it's like, really? Where did you get that from? So then this kid starts bringing up all the stats. I wish I could throw the screenshots up here. I saved them for the history books because they were just so bad. They really were. But receiver 4, Hunter Renfrow, no.
No, not at all. I heard people say that they wanted Nelson over him. I was like, there's no way you wanted Nelson Aguilar over Hunter Renfrow.
That's a white lie.
Someone tells me that. Hey, I think that you've done something wrong in your life. So that's not happening.
No, it's not happening. It's definitely not. Why did the Raiders sign Nelson Aguilar?
That surprises me. It really does. And watching him on the Eagles, because I'm from Philadelphia, he is just not an overall good receiver. He has moments of magic, and that's it. You don't know when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl, that was like, okay, he had a few great moments, and then the rest of the game he was non-existent. For him, and I don't see him making this roster. To be honest, a lot of people think that he will. I don't think that he will make this roster, and overall, I think that he'll contribute to helping our receivers that we drafted, build their confidence, but other than that, I don't see him doing anything. Maybe practice squad. Who knows? No.
Who knows? Speaking of receivers on the outs, I think there were 3 receivers that are going to be out. Are Nelson Aguilar. You can also throw De'Mornay Pearson-L in there, who the Raiders signed again for the 707th time. But, I definitely think the receivers on the outs will be Aguilar, Aikman. I love Keelan Doss. I love his potential, but I don't see him making the roster, as sad as that may sound. And I definitely don't see De'Mornay Pearson-L making the roster again.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. Pearson-L is good. He was great in the XFL, but there's no reason he's going to make an NFL roster at this point. He's been out of the league for too much time. And Keelan Doss, I agree with. He may be a local boy, but at this point we're going to Vegas. We need dogs on this team. He's got great potential, but he's a practice squad receiver for now.
Yeah, he only made 8 catches, and to be fair, I know people say that, Raiders lost the game against Jacksonville, last game in Oakland, because the refs screwed us over. The refs hate us. I hope this changes out, but that was one of the reasons. The other reason was because Derek threw it to the end zone, and Keelan Doss didn't catch it. He only had 8 receptions for 198 yards the whole entire year.
Yeah, that was really surprising, especially after his camp.
Oh, he had a star-studded camp, let me tell you.
I couldn't believe it. I thought he was going to take over for the slot position because Hunter hadn't been proven yet.
Right.
And then seeing the end of camp and realizing that he wasn't catching the ball in a few games, and it was just downhill from there for him. And I felt bad letting him go to Jacksonville, but when everything else happened and, we needed a receiver immediately on the practice squad and they brought him back, I was happy. But at this point, I think it's time for him to either show up or get out.
Yeah, show up or show out, Vegas is too big.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be really interesting. I just want to go off on a tangent here. It'll be really interesting to see what kind of strict guidelines Gruden and, the front office put on these players because we're going to be going to Vegas.
Yeah. Going to Vegas is a big topic, It's going to be an adventure.
Derek said on he was on the Bussing with the Boys with Taylor Lewan and Will Compton the other day, and he was saying he's expecting some crazy stories to come out with some certain players, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would not. I really wouldn't. So, some free agency numbers. Jason Witten, 82. I know that Malik Collins, 97. Excuse me. I know that. Let me think. Demarius Randall, 23. Jeff Heath, 38. By the way, if you guys don't know who Jeff Heath is, go refer back to 2017 Cowboys Raiders game, and that happened. He was the one that caused the fumble back out of the end zone. Whew, that was tough.
Never be forgotten.
No, it will never be forgotten. It really won't. I remember that day fondly. 12-yard line, car scrambles, car dives, fumble. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But, and then, Corey Littleton's number shocked me quite a bit. 42. He's taking over Carl Joseph's number, and that's kind of an odd number for a linebacker.
Yeah, it's like he took a college number at that point.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see him in that number.
It's different. It's different.
It is. I like it.
Yeah. Nick Witowski picked number 44. Marcus Mariota picked number 8. Now, you guys may remember, and I am to the end with Daniel Carlson. He freaking burned all bridges with me. I'm about ready just to cut him. He gave Mariota number 8. So now Carlson is wearing number 2. And oh my God, number 2 is the Raiders' number 1 cursed number because of he who should not be named, he who is lazy, and he who he drafted number 1 in 2007.
That's something I don't want to think about.
Yeah. But he took number 2, so Carlson's wearing number 2. Now, the Raiders did sign a guy named Dominic Ellerby out of Utah State as a UDFA. I hope he pushes and pushes and pushes Carlson for the job.
Yeah, I've heard he's really good. He's out of Germany.
Oh, really?
He was a former soccer player. He played soccer for most of his life. So the kid, he was a star at soccer. So I think that he could come in and take over for Daniel Carlson. I see that happening.
He's got a boot on him. Yeah.
Definitely.
So we'll have to see how all these training camp battles go if there's a training camp. Although I've heard that training camp will happen as scheduled. But other than that, Raider Nation, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you for coming on today, Raider Booch.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I appreciate your time. Alright, Raider Nation, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And until then, as always, go Raiders.